Everyone, and welcome to a very interesting part in this session where we are going to be continuing our work from Strength 4.2. Now in this particular topic, we are going to study about a very intoxicating substance which is alcohols. Now let me just take you back in history. When Noah left the ark, he promptly planted a vineyard and then he was soon drinking its produce. Well students, people have been fermenting grape juice for at least 10,000 years and probably fermenting honey for even longer. And the reason for doing this is of course to produce something which is going to make a person swagger, which is ethanol. Alcohol fermentation occurs naturally whenever we have a sugar containing material such as fruits which are allowed to decay and rot. So in that process, the entire carbon content is going to undergo a lot of chemical changes. Now in other countries where we have 4 seasons, in autumn it is very quite common to see a drunkard wasp which is seen to be feeding on a decayed fruit, because of course the decayed fruit is going to give out a lot of ethanol. So let's see what alcohols are and the different types of alcohols we are going to study this year and what is their basic chemistry. At is to name an alcohol. Now from your previous years of chemistry, you may have learned that alcohols are those organic compounds which contain the hydroxyl group OH, and the name of the alcohol will always end with OL. So let's look at one example here. If you have carbon and alcohol group combining together, we must remember that each carbon should have 4 bonds. So we have a CH3OH. This is how alcohols are written. One carbon prefix we use is meth. So it becomes methanol. And when we have to draw this structure, this is how it will look like. So we have a carbon. Always draw your carbons first, then you put your functional group. Now in this case, our functional group is OH because that is a group that is going to take part in a reaction. So after you draw your carbon and the functional group, the remaining bond will be occupied by the hydrogen atoms. So the 3 bonds that are there will have the hydrogen atoms. Okay, let's look at another example. Well, this time we have 2 carbon atoms. A 2 carbon atom uses a prefix ethanol. So sometimes we write it as CH3, CH2OH, or we condense it even further and write C2H5OH. So ethanol having 2 carbon atom, this is a substance which is found in most of the liquor. So we will have 2 carbons, let's draw the 2 carbons first, and then we put the OH group. The remaining bond on the carbon will be the hydrogen atoms. So we will have 5 hydrogen atoms attached to the 2 carbons. Okay, there now? Let's look at some more examples of alcohols. So this time we are having a 3 carbon alcohol. A 3 carbon alcohol can also be written as C3H7OH. A 3 carbon alcohol, let's see how we draw that first. So 1, 2 carbon and 3 carbon. So these 3 carbons, okay, now we have to think where to put the OH group. There is a lot of possibilities. We can put the OH group on the carbon on the left hand side, or the one in the middle, or the one on the right hand side. So wherever we are going to put the OH is going to decide the name of that alcohol. So let's say this time we will put the OH on the carbon that's on the right hand side. Okay, so once we put the OH, let's put the remaining bond occupied by the hydrogen atoms. So we have the hydrogen atoms now. Right. So since the OH is falling on the carbon that's on the right, that carbon will get the lowest number. So we start that with carbon number 1. That's carbon 2 and that's carbon number 3. So now the name of this alcohol will be propan-1-ol. The 1 will indicate the position of the OH group. Okay, the other way of looking at this molecule is we have the 3 carbon atoms. But this time we put the OH group in the middle. Then we let the rest of the bond be occupied by the hydrogen. Okay. Now let's see which side should you start numbering from. Actually, it doesn't really matter because whichever side you start numbering from, the OH carbon will still have number 2. So now there are 3 carbon atoms, propan, and because our OH is on carbon 2, we say it's propan 2-ol. Do you remember what is the relationship between propan 1-ol and propan 2-ol? Find out by watching the first video on isomerism. Well, propan 1-ol and propan 2-ol have both the same structural molecular formula, but the structural formulas are different. So they are isomers of each other. Now because the position of the functional group has changed, they are known as positional isomers. Sometimes we have alcohols which may look like this, which are branch alcohols in fact. So if you have a branch alcohol and you have to name them, you can't just be looking at the number of carbon atoms. You have to expand the structure so that you understand how the carbon atoms are arranging themselves. Now in this case, we have a carbon which is attached to 3 CH3 group. A CH3 group is a methyl group. You cannot have a methyl group in the middle. It has to be a terminal group, which means you can put it on the left, right, top or the bottom. Cannot come in the middle. So if we have to expand the structure, you look at the carbon which is attached to the methyl group. So here. Okay, so that's the carbon we're going to draw first. Now this carbon is now bonded to 3 CH3 group. So let's try expanding that. So if we look at this carbon bonded to a carbon now, which is attached to 3 hydrogens, right? So this is 1 CH3 group. We are left to draw 2 more CH3 groups. So that CH2 group can now come on top here. And then we have the third one where we have the CH3 group expanding itself. Okay, so we have 1, 2, and 3 CH3 groups attached to a single carbon. Now the fourth bond is going to be the OH. So once we have this kind of structure, it is very clear to us what our parent chain is going to be. One more time, our parent chain is the longest chain of carbon atom. You start from one carbon which may be sticking on the side, keep on going until you reach the last carbon in one flow. You cannot be going back. Now in this case, we have 3 carbon which are all falling in a line. So that becomes our parent chain. Now parent chain is containing 3 carbon atoms. So the name will be propan, and because you have OH on carbon number 2, so it will be propan 2-ol. So we have propan 2-ol as our parent chain. Now in alcohols, our parent chain must include the OH group. So attached to the parent chain, apart from the hydrogens, there is a CH3 group. This CH3 group is our branch, and that is called a methyl. Now the position of the methyl is on carbon 2, so we say it is 2-methyl. Let's put them together and we have 2-methyl propan 2-ol. So this is how you're going to name a branch alcohol or any branch organic compound for that matter. You have to expand the structure and always circle your parent chain so that you are not confused. Okay, with a pencil you can trace your parent chain, write the name of the parent chain, and then whatever is sticking on the parent chain will become your branches. Now usually your branches should be given the lowest number. However, if there is a parent, if there is a functional group in the compound, that functional group will be given the priority. So that functional group will be given the lowest number over the branches. Sometimes you have more than one branch attached to the parent chain. Now in that case, you have to look for the bigger branch. The bigger branch will be the one containing more carbon. That bigger branch will be the dominant one, and that will be given the lowest number. Okay, so in that way you will be able to work out what is a correct order of naming the carbon atom. It can be from the left or it can be from the right. right. Now that we have seen how the alcohols are named based on their position of the OH group, we are going to be looking at the three different types of alcohol. We have seen the three types of amines in our previous section, where we said it's primary, secondary and tertiary based on the number of carbon attached to the nitrogen. Similarly, for alcohol, we are going to classify them in the same way. So when we're looking at a primary alcohol, it is where the alkyl group attached to the carbon which has the OH. You have to look at that alkyl group. So the COH group should have one alkyl group. Let's look at an example. Now in this example, let's look at the carbon that is in the OH group. So that is a carbon to which the OH is attached to. How many carbon is this carbon attached itself to? So you have one alkyl group, and that one alkyl group makes it a primary alcohol. Secondary alcohols, this is where two alkyl groups are attached to the COH group. Okay, let's look at this example here. Now the carbon OH group is this one here, that's your carbon where the OH is attached to, and this carbon is attached to two other carbon atoms. So we have 1 and 2. So that is how you classify this compound as a secondary alcohol. And finally, when we look at a tertiary alcohol, this is where there are three alkyl groups attached to the COH group. So you look at the carbon which is attached to the OH, and how many carbon is this carbon attached to? There will be 1, 2 and 3. So these three carbon groups make it a tertiary alcohol. Now let's look at how the different properties in alcohols are affected by the intermolecular bonding. Now if you recall, intermolecular bonding is a bonding between molecules, and these bonding are responsible for the physical properties in different molecules. If you look at alcohols, since they contain a hydroxyl group which is a OH, they are able to form strong hydrogen bond between the polar hydroxyl group. So if you're looking at this diagram which is on the right hand side, that we have, okay, this is an alcohol molecule CH3OH, that's methanol, and then bonded to the oxygen of the methanol is the hydrogen of another methanol. So that's the methanol, and we have another one, and in between we have the hydrogen bonding. The other kind of bonding which is always prevalent in alcohols is the weak van der Waals forces. These weak van der Waals forces are induced dipole, and these occur between the non-polar groups or the alkyl groups. So as the chain of the alcohol, as the size of the alcohol increases, so does the strength of the induced dipole. Let's look at one example. Now if you're looking at this alcohol which is propanol, the bonding of the alkyl group, okay, the shaded part is the alkyl group. So between this alkyl group and the next alkyl group, there is an induced dipole in between the carbon atoms. So that's one dipole, one induced dipole, that's the second one, and that's the third one. Do not forget that apart from these induced dipole, there is also a very strong hydrogen bond between O and the H, which is a hydrogen bond. Now, another thing that is very important and very interesting about alcohol is that the smaller alcohols will always have the strong hydrogen bond as a dominant bond. However, as the alcohols get bigger in size, the strength of the induced dipole or the van der Waals force is going to increase. Let's compare another example now. Now in this example, we have a 5-carbon alcohol. A 5-carbon alcohol would simply mean that there would be more intermolecular induced dipole, as you can see here. So this extra induced dipole is going to strengthen the bonding between the molecules, which is going to affect their physical properties. After looking at the different intermolecular bonding in alcohols, let's try to relate those in the physical properties of the alcohols. So due to the fact that alcohols contain hydroxyl group and they are able to form hydrogen bonds, they are going to have higher melting and boiling point. So if you're looking at this particular graph here, you can compare the boiling point of alcohol in comparison to alkanes. So the same number of carbon atoms that are found in alkane as in alcohols, you can see there is a vast difference between their boiling point. Alkanes are non-polar, that means they contain induced dipole, which is why their boiling point and melting point will be quite low. On the other hand, alcohols contain hydrogen bonding, and that is the reason why the boiling point of alcohols are quite high. The next property of alcohol is their solubility in water. Smaller alcohols can form hydrogen bonding with water. Therefore, these smaller alcohols are readily soluble in water. However, as the alcohols get bigger, the dominant bond there becomes induced dipole, and that is the reason why the molecules become more non-polar. So they are going to be less soluble in water. Now if you're looking at this particular diagram here, you can see how hydrogen bonding between water and alcohol molecules form. So the oxygen atom of the alcohol is going to be bonded to the hydrogen of water and vice versa. One of the ways in which the different types of alcohols, namely primary, secondary and tertiary, can be differentiated from each other is by doing some chemical reaction to them. So the first reaction that we are going to be looking at is called oxidation reaction. Now to do that, we are going to be using one of the oxidizing agent which is known as acidified dichromate solution. Acidified dichromate is an oxidizing agent. It will cause oxidation of the alcohol, but itself will get reduced. So the rule of the thumb is that only the primary and secondary alcohol will oxidize. Therefore, there will be a color change from orange to green. Tertiary alcohols do not oxidize. Therefore, there will be absolutely no color change. The orange color of the dichromate solution will remain the same. The next reaction that can differentiate between the different types of alcohol is known as a Lucas test. Lucas test makes use of a Lucas reagent, which is chemically known as a solution of anhydrous zinc chloride in concentrated hydrochloric acid. So a mixture of zinc chloride and HCl is called a Lucas reagent. Now, when this Lucas reagent is added to the different alcohols, the rate of the reaction is compared between them. The purpose of the zinc chloride in this particular reaction is to act as a catalyst, while the HCl is going to react with alcohol in a substitution reaction. Now what happens in a substitution reaction is the OH group is going to be replaced by the Cl group of the HCl. Now let's see the different types of reaction that is going to take place when Lucas reagent is added to the different types of alcohols. For a primary alcohol, there will be a very slow reaction with the HCl. There will be absolutely no cloudiness forming. But for a secondary alcohol, there will be a moderate rate of reaction. The cloudiness is going to form after 5 to 15 minutes. Now if you're looking at this reaction here, you can take a note as to how the reaction has taken. Notice that this OH that is here has now been replaced by a Cl atom. And then this OH and the H from HCl has combined to give you water. So this molecule that is created here is none other than alkyl halide, which is known as 2-chlorobutane. Tertiary alcohols, on the other hand, has a very rapid reaction. The cloudiness is going to form after 1 or 2 minutes. So you can see how the different rate of a reaction can help us identify the different types of alcohols. So when Lucas reagent is added to the 3 alcohols, which one has reacted very rapidly? It was the tertiary alcohol. So the observation that was made was cloudiness forming. So now that we have learned a little bit about alcohols as to how we can name them, how we can classify them, and how we can differentiate the different types of alcohols in a lab, let's watch a practical as to how these three different types of alcohols can be differentiated from one another.
We will now perform the Lucas test for alcohols using the test compounds 1-butanol, 2-butanol, and 2-methyl-2-propanol. This test depends on the appearance of an alkyl chloride as an insoluble second layer when an alcohol is treated with the Lucas reagent, which is a mixture of hydrochloric acid and zinc chloride. Primary alcohols do not react and dissolve in the reagent at room temperature. Secondary alcohols react slowly and produce a cloudiness after 2 to 5 minutes. Tertiary alcohols give an immediate cloudiness in the solution as the insoluble alkyl halide separates from the aqueous solution. The Lucas test does not work well with solid alcohols or liquid alcohols containing 6 or more carbons. We will begin by placing 2 milliliters of the Lucas reagent in 3 separate test tubes. We will then add 3 to 4 drops of the alcohols into the corresponding test tube. We'll stop for the test tubes and shake vigorously.
Well students, so there you have it. As you can see in this video, how the rapid color change has occurred for a tertiary alcohol when the Lucas reagent was added to that. And then when the same Lucas reagent was added to the secondary alcohol, the cloudiness or the precipitate formed after a couple of minutes. While on when we look at the primary alcohol, there was absolutely no reaction taking place. So I hope you have enjoyed the video and learned a lot about alcohols in this section. In the next part of this video, we are going to be looking at the different reactions of alcohols and a little bit more about them. Until then students, you take care. Good luck in your revision and your preparation for your upcoming exams. Take care and bye.